Welcome to a regular meeting of the Board of Education. Thank you all for coming out tonight. Today is September 3rd, and we are at the Wtby Arts Magnet School. We will begin our meeting with a silent prayer, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag, led tonight by Commissioner McEntee. Before we begin, I have two memorial recognitions to include in our silent prayer tonight. First one is Jeff Bolin. Jeff Bolin died on August 5th. Jeff served our district well for many years as the principal of Kingsbury School, where he was well respected and noted to be an advocate for all children and teachers. Also, another retired teacher, Victor A. Scher. Mr. Scher passed on August 12th. Victor was a long-retired industrial arts teacher. Mr. Scher was my first industrial arts teacher in the 7th grade. He was a very inquisitive gentleman who always wanted to know how mechanical things worked. He was also an inventor and a pilot. Victor was responsible for encouraging at least two people to become technology education teachers: his son, with whom he taught at Kennedy, and myself. I was proud to have him as a colleague in our chosen profession. We remember Jeff Bolin and Victor Scher in our silent prayer tonight.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Commissioner Awad, Commissioner Brown, Vice President Harvey,
here.
Commissioner Hernandez, Commissioner McEntee,
Present.
Commissioner Rodriguez, Commissioner Sweeney,
Here.
Commissioner Jason Van Stone,
Present.
Commissioner Tom Van Stone,
Present.
President Stango.
Here. Commissioner McEntee, was there something you said to the other commissioners that are not here? You forced them all out.
Yeah, it's just me tonight on this side.
For the record, those commissioners who are absent tonight did call in and check in regarding their absences, and they send their regrets. For the rest of us who are present, you get a free pass. The next time there's a snow day, please take that into consideration, and maybe you can take a pass. And if you don't take the pass, you might be able to collect it when you retire. Teachers know what I mean. Okay, next item on the agenda is the communications. We have a copy of communication dated July 29th, 2015 from the New England Association of Schools and Colleges to Holy Cross High School regarding their 5-year progress report. No, to Crosby High School. Okay, regarding their 5-year progress report. We have a copy of a communication dated July 30th from Civil Service certifying Diane Bates for the position of food service worker. Copy of a communication dated August 4th, 2015 from Civil Service certifying Kelly Roberts for the position of paraprofessional. Copy of a communication dated August 4th, 2015 from Civil Service certifying Patrick Kelly for the position of maintainer 1. An email communication dated August 6th, 2015 from Jackie Densky regarding the new dress code. Copy of communication dated August 6th from Civil Service certifying Paul Craven for the position of maintainer 1. Copy of a communication dated August 7th from Civil Service certifying Jeanette Santiago for the position of paraprofessional. I have a copy of a communication dated August 14th, 2015 from Civil Service certifying Richard Wtby for the position of food service driver. Copy of a communication dated August 14th from Civil Service certifying Sherry Casey, Verna Ellis, Allison Gracie, and Anna Condi for the position of a paraprofessional. Copy of a communication dated August 14th, 2015 from Civil Service certifying Robert Caraballo for the position of maintainer 2. A copy of a communication dated August 14th from Civil Service certifying Jason Dunn for the position of maintainer 1. Copy of Dr. Aletza Middle of Wtby Public Schools 2014-2015 annual report received August 14th, 2015. Copy of a communication dated August 17th from Civil Service certifying Patricia Donahue for the position of School Secretary. Copy of a communication dated August 17th from Civil Service certifying William Nichols and George Walters, 3, for the position of Maintainer 1. Copy of a communication dated August 18th from Civil Service appointing William G. Miller, Jr. to the Interim Chief Operating Officer and Chief of Staff. Copy of a communication dated August 25th from 2015 from Civil Service certifying Mary Rose to the position of a School Secretary. Copy of a communication dated August 25th from Civil Service certifying Lori Peck to the position of Teaching Vice Principal at the Enlightenment School. And a copy of a communication dated August 25th from Civil Service certifying James Horan for the position of Maintainer 1. The last one, copy of a communication dated August 25th from Civil Service certifying Michelle Costanzo for the position of Administrative Support Specialist 2. That concludes the communications.
Motion to receive and place on file communications is read.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next item on the agenda is item number 5, and it is regarding the approval of minutes. The minutes that you see listed here are many, so I won't read them all, but they are of 21 meetings. They're regular meetings, special meetings, and workshops. The minutes range from February 26th, 2015 to July 2nd, 2015. The minutes are posted on our website.
Motion to approve minutes?
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next item on the agenda is public address to the board. Entertain a motion.
Motion to suspend the regular order of business?
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We are suspended order of business and a public address to the board, and I will read the disclaimer. All speakers are encouraged to submit prepared written statements to the commissioners. Comments shall be limited to a maximum of 5 minutes. The chairman will disallow a speaker from continuing to speak if slanderous or defamatory remarks are made. There will be no responses this evening to any questions or concerns raised, but they will be referred to the administration for review and response. And our first speaker this evening is Jenna Pelosi of Taft Point.
Good evening, members of the Board of Education, staff, school personnel, and faculty. My name is Jenna Pelosi, and I am the chair of the SISCA Professional Recognition Committee. It is a pleasure to join you this evening to recognize an outstanding educator and administrator, Jennifer Dwyer. The SISCA Professional Recognition Committee reviewed submissions for Administrator of the Year from across the state. Our evaluations and selections were based on the following criteria: evidence of dedication to the school counselors and their role within the building, examples of dedication to the school counseling profession, and characteristics and qualities that detail their connection with school counselors and the needs of their students. As a school counselor working with Ms. Dwyer, I can say with certainty that she is not only dedicated to her students' success, but also to the growth within her building for all. Jen Dwyer is an innovator and a team player. She has been a critical component and supporter for the school counseling profession within her building of over 500 students. She has helped support staff create a private area to facilitate groups with limited resources. Ms. Dwyer recognizes that school counselors at an elementary level are proactive, necessary, and can be tremendously preventative with reoccurring problematic behaviors. She sees a school counselor as an integral part of a school faculty and helps to empower and support for a full-time school counselor within her building. Ms. Dwyer, you are truly amazing. On behalf of the SISCA Professional Recognition Committee, we thank you for your commitment and dedication to your students and the school counseling profession within your building. So congratulations to Ms. Dwyer as SISCA's Administrator of the Year.
Very well done. Congratulations, Ms. Dwyer. Next speaker is Danielle Albert of 93 Kelsey Street.
Hi, everyone. Thank you again for the opportunity to speak tonight. I'm here tonight as a parent. With the new school year having begun, I want to discuss grant-funded programming, how it specifically relates to the Blueprint for Change, the superintendent's 2013-14 annual report, and specifically the article from the July 20th Republican American School Grants Face Scrutiny. For quite some time as a parent and president of the Gilmartin School Governance Council, I've been researching information on citywide programs, both grant-funded and not. While doing the research, the Grants Face Scrutiny article came out. Apparently, many of these grant-funded support opportunities and reform initiatives stated in the annual report and blueprint have not been followed through. I'm here to ask the questions that parents do need answers to. Why was the district unable to recruit or retain educators of all backgrounds? Specifically, what happened to the hiring of school psychologists and guidance counselors, professionals who are in a position to directly affect our most vulnerable population, those students with social and mental health needs? Why have we seen night and summer school, two grant-funded programs, publicly fail? Why were there no truancy officers or attendance counselors in place to follow through with getting our children to attend these programs? Where is the data that shows the effectiveness of the turnaround programs? I recently sat at an NAACP forum and administrators were asked for data. The perception from a parent is that everything is smoke and mirrors and the data is purposely not being made public because the grant-funded programming is not working. What about the overcrowding? Aside from Malone and McBroom's PowerPoint, what progress has really been made in the last year and a half to utilize our existing resources to remedy the crowding in the schools? And finally, the purple elephant that sits right here in front of this table, the truth about the SBAC testing. Does it accurately reflect the student achievement or skill level? What learning have my own daughters missed out on because they were basically used in an experiment that everyone knew was not going to succeed? We all read the article and can read in between the printed lines. Grant-funded programs cannot fulfill their purpose or work effectively if their funding is not being used as it's intended. The budget shows us that Alliance and 21st Century bring a huge amount of money into this city, funding that's supposed to sustain programs like Focus, TAG, STEM, Gear Up, and Title I. But it was reported that the city of Waterbury is spending Alliance grant money in ways that strayed from approved initiatives. Who in the city is overseeing these discrepancies? We are the most underfunded city in the state, so how can we justify having a $2.2 million excess, which is 11.5% of the Alliance District grant? Then we read, we could have spent money elsewhere. Where is the administrative oversight and safeguards to ensure that the initiatives are being implemented and the funds are spent according to the grant narrative? As a taxpayer and a parent, this does not look good. Grant money being spent to plug budget holes. If the money is being used to offset budget deficits, will it jeopardize our future eligibility for funding? The children of this city are entitled to every single resource dollar available to them. What is the solution? Due to the fact that grant funding is tied so tightly into the educational resources of this city, you as a board should hold an open citywide information forum that will address grant programming questions that parents have. Explain what grant-funded programs are available at which schools and who is eligible. Have the individuals who are overseeing each program be present to explain their role in the grant process. Explain where funding comes from and how its disbursement will translate to services. How many children does each program benefit? What percentage of this money is being spent on the management of funds and how much is going directly to programs and services? As indicated in our own city budget, there's an amount of $275,000 for educational grants. Are salaries part of the city budget or grant dollars because it can't be coming out of both places? Who is doing the promoting and development of the incentives for these programs? Why are programs like night and summer school lacking students? Look at night school. There were 65 students and only 8 earned enough credits to move into their senior year. Is the solution to drop quality programs when we should be doing everything possible to make them succeed? The newspaper should not be providing explanations, justifications, and excuses after these programs and initiatives fail. There needs to be a proactive approach, quality management, and utmost transparency. Show us the proof that the funds are being used in a way that provides services for our kids. All of you sitting at this table are held to the highest standard of integrity. If the funds are not being managed appropriately, you are all responsible, and that responsibility comes at the highest cost, the cost of what's best for our children. Thank you.
The next speaker is Lisa Lassard of Pearl Lake Road.
Good evening, Lisa Lassard, 905 Pearl Lake Road. I actually brought that newspaper tonight of July 20th, 2015. Schools grants face scrutiny, grants being plural. I've been standing here since 2012, again in 2013, again in 2014, and again in 2015 in accordance to Alliance Grant, Turnaround Money, and Commissioners Network. And believe it or not, I'm going to read part of this article if I have time. Connecticut Council for Education Reform, Executive Director Jeffrey A. Baylor voiced disappointment at the amount Waterbury's grant strayed from the approved reform plans. He said the Alliance District program was created to have meaningful impact for the state's neediest students, not to provide property tax relief. Let me repeat, not to provide tax relief, property relief. Now, this here DVD from the Board of Aldermen, 4/13/2015, I was here prior to meeting one of your meetings before. This is the DVD that struck this article to come out, because I went to the State Department of Education with this DVD, gave it to the Vice Chair of the State Board of Education. She viewed it, the attorneys at their office viewed it, and believe it or not, you're not spending the money as intended for our most vulnerable children here in this city. I don't know if it's the Board of Education or if it's the mayor himself, but somebody is not spending as should. City Budget Director Ophelia Montos told me after my Board of Aldermen speech just last week, we gotta do what we gotta do, Mrs. Lassard, so taxes do not go up. Was that an admission? $4,414,000 of Alliance Grant money goes towards salaries of administrators and teachers and paraprofessionals alone. We have $19.1 million of Alliance Grant money, the most this state has given to any city since Alliance Grant started in 2012. Now, 11% did go towards 2.2 surplus, OPET trust funding. So sorry, but now basically, I'm not actually sorry about this. This budget basically is going to be held to the strictest accountability from the State Department of Education, says this article. And believe it or not, I do know this commissioner is all about accountability, accountability, and accountability. This money is here for each and all children within this district, the most vulnerable, the most needy. And every time you misuse that money, you are taking, not from me, but from the children within this city that deserve it, that need it, so they can grow and prosper and have the best education they can. So whoever's misusing, misintending, not putting where it needs to go, it needs to stop, and it needs to stop now. And you need to check with the State Department of Education, because they'll tell you the same thing. Thank you, and God bless.
Next speaker is Arlene Arias of Rodney Street.
Good evening. I'm here with my colleagues from Radical Advocates for Cross-Cultural Education. Good evening, Superintendent Ouellette, President Stango, Vice President Harvey, and Board of Ed Commissioners. We are here to report back our data analysis and findings and give you recommendations for our Black Girls Summit that was held on August 8th here at WAMS. The first issue we'd like to highlight is the statistical illusion that reducing overall suspension rates would lead to a reduction in the disparate disciplinary rates of female students of color. We know that this isn't true. It is our belief that the reduction in number of overall suspensions is not a reliable metric for determining whether or not our district's policies and practices are in fact culturally competent and student-centric. Essentially, we believe the paradigm that places discipline over academic achievement is a primary reason for achievement gaps, graduation rate disparities, low levels of school connectedness, and the over-disciplining of students of color, especially girls of color. In an attempt to explain the unique circumstances that girls of color face, we, RACE, highlighted a report, Black Girls Matter, produced by the African American Policy Forum. From this report, we gained an understanding that poverty, interpersonal violence, sexual assault, pregnancy, and the burdensome trend of parenting responsibilities for both Hispanic and Black female students is at higher levels than their white counterparts. Combining this with a paradigm of discipline over academic achievement, girls of color feel heightened levels of vulnerability through the phenomena of being pushed out and over-policed. This creates a continuum of suspensions and more vulnerability. This is problematic because we can clearly see that women of color are differently situated in the economic, social, and political worlds. When reform efforts undertaken on behalf of women neglect this fact, women of color are less likely to have their needs met than women who are racially privileged. From this, we recommend discipline policies, policies for academic grouping and tracking of students, human service assignments, and after-school programs be redesigned or created to meet the needs of Black and Hispanic female students. We recommend a special committee of school professionals, students, parents, and community organizations that this committee should be created and tasked to fulfill this need. Next, we received and analyzed data from the 2012-13 and 2013-14 school years, and this is what we found. Black female students are suspended 2.5 times at a greater rate than their white counterparts. This was during the 2012-13 school year. Black female students are 2.8 times at greater risk for being suspended. This is during both the 2013-14, 2014-15 school year. Based on population, numbers being equalized, that leads to nearly a 1.5 disparate impact on Black female students. Meanwhile, Hispanic students had ratios that were proportional to their overall population numbers, but that white female students were underrepresented, and this is a disparity that needs to be accounted for as it relates to feelings of vulnerability being pushed out, over-policed for Black female students. Our school professionals have never been charged with developing cultural competency, a skill integral to a 21st century educator. If school professionals don't understand who and what their identity is and how it fits into the power dynamics, then they can never truly be educators who are cross-cultural. It is only when school professionals understand how implicit and explicit bias works to control all of their core duties as educators that they will become able to make judgments about discipline and academic achievement through the lens of equity, fairness, and justice. The school district will be required by law to provide cultural competency training, so we urge the Board of Ed to pursue staff training that just doesn't meet the federal or state standards. Wtby can be an innovator in this area. Finally, our Black Girls Summit panelists and attendees recommended through think tanks the following. More students should be involved in controlled and designed after-school programs, training of all staff on cultural competency and implicit bias, so all staff should be trained on this, more timely and distribution of disaggregated data, and more focus on school professional responsibilities and duties as it relates to these discipline disparities. Thank you.
Thank you. That concludes our speakers. Is there anyone else here who would like to address the board? Seeing none,
Motion to return to regular order of business?
Second.
motion's been made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We'll return to the regular order of business. The next item on the agenda is the superintendent's announcements.
Thank you, Mr. President. I apologize in advance. I have a quite lengthy superintendent's announcements tonight. I just wanted to thank the entire Wtby community for a fantastic opening this last week. I had the opportunity to visit all our schools at least once, if not more, several times throughout the last couple of weeks, and it was just a phenomenal opening. Buses were running on time. Mr. Godone had indicated that I think we broke a record for release time at the end of the day, and all clear. So all in all, it was a great opening. So I want to thank personally the administrators, the teachers, the staff, and the parents, students as well. It was just a great opening. I'm happy to report that our new dress code also saw a compliance rate of 98 to 100% so far in our high schools. It's just phenomenal what's happening there. Perhaps just a handful of students we're working with over the last couple of days, but our principals are reporting 98 to 100%. Just, I wanted to personally thank, moving on to my next item, State Comptroller Kevin Lembo recently visited the Waterbury DCF to distribute several backpacks and assorted school supplies in collaboration with the DCF office. It was just a phenomenal event, and I was very pleased to be part of that. I also want to give a special recognition, and they are going to report out at another board workshop. Dr. Tucker and Johanna Hayes were invited by the Connecticut State Board of Education Legislation and Policy Development Committee to give an update on the implementation of the Minority Teacher Recruitment and Retention Planning Grant. I'm not going to read all of this, but just some of the highlights of the meeting after we debriefed together was the State Board of Education Commissioners and Commissioner Wenzel were in attendance. They were the only school system that was invited to speak to the state board. They received such a positive feedback from Waterbury's proposal and inclusion of input from all the stakeholders. They thought the plan was phenomenal. They specifically supported the proposed Grow Your Own Teachers programs and the community engagement efforts. The commissioners requested information about the survey that was conducted in Waterbury and for the feedback, and I think she's going to use it to look at some of developing future strategies at the state level. Some of the challenges, again, that was highlighted, that's no surprise to us, is the reciprocity between our states. Certainly that was voiced very strongly with the State Department of Education staff, and the Commissioner and the State Board of Education members certainly gave recognition to this, our Waterbury, to Dr. Tucker and Johanna for their openness in meeting the recruiting and retaining of minorities has been a challenge, and taking that to the forefront. I do have some also grant updates just to provide for you. I'm not going to read it into the record. That's just for your information, and we certainly will invite them to a future board workshop. Just very quickly, Waterbury has been selected to participate in the 2015-16 Fresh Fruits and Vegetable Program offered through the Connecticut State Department of Education. The total allocation will be based on $59.17 per student in 21 schools for a total of $641,697. I have listed the participating schools for you in your packet. Just wanted to recognize also this year's United Way campaign will begin with a kickoff breakfast Wednesday, September 9th at 7:30 a.m. The La Bella Vista that will be conducted that morning. The theme year focus will be on programs United Way offers that provides a hands up to recipients rather than a handout. One of our former students, Gerald Moldings, worked with his talent friends to create a new theme song for the campaign, and he's a recent graduate from Waterbury Arts Magnet School and is currently attending Naugatuck Valley Community College. So that event will be happening. Also, as in the past, we had such a great results with our Global Leadership Institute with Taft School that will begin a general informational session on Thursday, September 17th from 6 to 7:30 p.m. at the Waterbury Arts Magnet School. I have provided the details in your packet. We're looking for a current cohort of 20 students to spend summer interning at different locations. And again, I'm sure we will have an update provided for the board. We have a link to the video based on a news article that's on the front page of our district website, so students and parents can be connected to that information as well. Just a reminder, we made an adjustment to our school calendar based on the upcoming primary, so that our first open house will take place on Wednesday, September 16th for elementary and high school students, with open house for middle and high school students the following week. There will be an early dismissal on both days, and the board will be voting that adjustment in the calendar this evening. I also want to certainly give kudos to Chief Academic Officer Schwartz in his ILD team and the supervisory team for putting a spectacular professional development together this past couple of weeks. I attended many of the workshops this year. Some of the highlights was the K-5 ELA, the 4 processing system, and the foundations program, which is spectacular. In my observation and travels throughout the weeks, all you can see is foundations happening in certain blocks sometimes, and it's quite exciting. Students are truly engaged in it, and the teachers have really grasped hold of this program. So that was a spectacular PD. I also want to recognize the ELA 612 program from Mr. Strand with regards to the social studies program as well. Some of the highlights of that was looking at student portfolio development, concept and tools related to implementing academic behaviors, looking at the connections between aspect claims, Connecticut Common Core state standards, and concept-driven essential questions. We had 30 teachers facilitating this professional development, and it was simply amazing walking through Wallace. So that was also very new to us, having our teachers actually turnkey over the professional development to their colleagues. Also, I spent a lot of my time at the Smarter Balanced Mathematic workshops for the elementary school, looking at the iReady pilot for grades 3 through 5. Also, mathematics secondary is certainly a focus of ours based on the aspect scores. I observed the new state Algebra 2 and geometry curricula, the staff working through that, looking through some of the barriers, and also looking with the technology in order to infuse that into our classrooms. So that was also well intended. And certainly a focus of ours through the professional development for teachers, staff. Number one concern of ours is also chronic absenteeism. We looked at some of the issues with technology, also some of the new state mandates with regards to legislation. We had the attorneys give us new legislative updates that some really went into effect July 1st, so we're on that as well. And also safety precautions for the upcoming school year. So all in all, it was a great start. Last 2 weeks, tremendous amount of professional development and support for our teachers, well received by some of the survey results. And at that point, Mr. President, I will conclude my remarks and entertain any questions the board may have.
Thank you, Dr. Ouellette. Any questions for Dr. Ouellette at this point? Commissioner Jason Van Stone.
Thank you, Mr. President. Through you, just one question. You'd noted the SBAC results. I would imagine that at some point in one of the upcoming workshops, we'll have a presentation kind of walking us through that. I think we all got to take a look at it through our email, and there were some nice reports done by you, your staff, Mr. Schwartz, Ms. Bastoni. But I think for everyone involved, I think it's best if this board got a walkthrough.
Absolutely. Let me just tell you quickly, if I may. Workshop will be a marathon one on the 10th. We are going to be walking through the Alliance grant, some of the results with that. That'll take a long time. SBAC is next on my list. I'm not sure if the board, if I can walk you through the accountability system. That's so complex. I may need to wait on that in order for you to digest it, but there's so much information. So I have 3 to 4 major items coming our way. But SBAC definitely and Alliance are coming up on the 10th.
Anyone else? Very well. Thank you, Dr. Ouellette.
You're welcome.
Next item on the agenda, item number 8, President's comments. I just want to wish everyone a very successful and happy new school year. Wtby opened last week. Opening day is always anticipated with excitement and hopes for a new beginning. The schools which I had the opportunity to visit were all humming along without incidents. Principals and teachers reported to me that it was the smoothest opening ever. For the most part, I do believe that most students and teachers alike are happy to be back in the educational life routine, and they really want good things to happen. I know that we will all monitor the year. We know all too well that once we begin the year, we are on a fast track to, believe it or not, the completion of the year. Time flies. We may lose focus. We try not to. We have many good people in the right places, and we need to keep focused and stick to our plan I wish good luck to everyone involved. That concludes my comments. The next item on the agenda is item number 9, the consent calendar. Does anyone wish to remove an item from the consent calendar? Commissioner Tom Van Stone.
Thank you, Mr. President. Through you, yes, I would request we remove 9.5 from the consent calendar, please.
9.5. All right. Anyone else? Okay, then I shall read the consent calendar. Item 9.1, Committee on Finance requests approval of the submission of the 2015-2016 State Bilingual Grant Application. 9.2, Committee on Building requests approval of a memorandum of understanding with the City of Waterbury Inland Wetlands and Watercourse Commission and the City of Waterbury. 9.3, Committee on Building requests approval of a long-term stewardship and management agreement with the City of Waterbury Inland Wetlands and Watercourse Commission and the City of Waterbury. 9.4, Committee on School Facilities and Grounds, use of school facilities by school organizations and/or city departments. And that concludes the consent calendar.
Motion to approve the consent calendar as read.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Now we go to 9.5, Committee on School Facilities and Grounds, use of school facilities by outside organizations and/or waiver request. Who would that be?
I have that.
Vice President Harvey.
Thank you. Item 9.5, ladies and gentlemen, with the approval of the Committee on School Facilities and Grounds, the Superintendent of School recommends approval of the use of school facilities by outside organizations and/or waiver requests, subject to fees and insurance as required. Respectfully submitted and so moved.
Motion's been made and seconded. Now discussion. Commissioner Tom Van Stone.
Thank you, Mr. President. Through you, I brought to light through our budget talks months ago how I felt we were not just giving use to our facilities and grounds, we're being abused with our facility and grounds. There's a few items on tonight's agenda that if it stayed on consent, we probably would have passed without even realizing what we were passing. I would like to note those from least to most, in the order I see them anyway. The first, actually, with something brought to my attention, is there's probably a typo on the index page for 9.5. It disagrees. I thought we had a conflict on a gym on a given night. It turns out one organization, it says Tuesday and Wednesday at Sprague. The other says Tuesday, but the index should say Wednesday, Thursday. Their paperwork requests Wednesday, Thursday. So that's very minor. The next one on my list, apparently with the rules as they are, and this is something I complained about repeatedly during the budget process, when we're certainly told we would spend $250,000 of our money to rent the Palace Theater. Apparently we don't think the same when we utilize outside organizations using our facilities. There's a particular sports club that's on here tonight that by the rules is probably within their rights, that they are going to use a gymnasium between 7 and 9 o'clock on Thursday nights, Gilmartin School. But apparently because we have a janitor in the building, they are able to use it at no cost. Well, the people that are on this request, the requester is from Meriden, Connecticut, and the second on the point of contact is from Middlebury. I'm not quite sure why we use our tax dollars, take it away from our students to not charge rent on our buildings for people that they're not even our neighboring towns. It's not like it's one of our neighboring towns that maybe we, do a little give and take with fields and we work things out. Meriden and Middlebury, and we're going to let them use a gym, which they apparently have been using for years, on Thursday nights for no fee. As far as I'm concerned, if that is within the guidelines of the rules, as I mentioned earlier this year in budget talk, that needs to be changed, because that's absolutely ridiculous that we do not charge a fee for those folks to use our gymnasiums. The next one on the list, I've made mention of this in previous correspondence to other members of the board, that if passed tonight, and again, where I'm saddened here is this is let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 items, and I'm only objecting to 3. But unfortunately, I'm probably going to be forced to vote no, which those other 7 groups are legitimate groups, either paying their fees, and in some cases, groups paying their fees who are Wtby residents. But we're going to give it to outsiders for free. So the first one I'd like to bring up is the Cheshire YMCA swim team. They have put in a request, and this apparently has been used for many years. They are paying, I will say they are paying, but they're only paying for outside the normal hours, which I disagree with. They should pay full price. And they're going to use Crosby Pool, and the way the request came in was from 9/4 to 3/8 of 2016, from 5:30 to 8. It did not say any days. So we're about to grant an outside organization from outside the city of Waterbury permission to use our pool 7 days a week. Now, apparently there's an agreement with the AD that any interference, we would take precedence. But the bottom line is we're about to sign off on a piece of paper that grants this organization use of our pool 7 days a week. Every other one on this list lists what days they want to use the pool, or whatever the facility is. This one is a blanket request for 7 months of 7 days a week. I don't see how we could pass it. The last one's a little more difficult. It is our kids. It's, I don't want to use any organization's name. People can look at the agenda if they want to see it. Would like to use the Crosby Gym and Auditorium on October 24th. First thing to bring out here, we've already moved one event in November out of the Crosby Gym because we're not even sure if it will be ready to host any events. So that's the first thing on this. The second thing is the date they request is a Saturday, from 7 in the morning to 5 o'clock at night, both the auditorium and the gym. They are charging $15 admission. Being that it's a competition, my assumption is with normal tournaments, but this is not on the paperwork, the other teams will pay an admission fee to get into the tournament, which is the normal. I can be corrected on that. And my guess is they'll probably set up a snack bar. They're saying they're going to have upwards of 500 people in attendance that day. Well, at $15 a person, even if only 100 people pay, there's $1,500. But we're going to sit here tonight and just waive almost a $2,000 tab that would be incurred for use of our facility. I'm not sure we could do this anymore. Can we find something for Waterbury residents maybe less than the normal fee? Well, maybe that's something to look at. But as the budget stands now, just waiving $2,000, not during normal school hours, it would be school for gym and auditorium on a Saturday from 7 in the morning to 5 in the afternoon. These are things we need to start taking a hard look at. Are they minor in the big picture? Maybe they are. But we need to start concentrating on what it is we're passing and at least take a look at what we're just saying yes to. This may be the first time a facility and grounds item has ever been taken off consent calendar. And we really need to start looking at what we're doing. So, again, some people may think this is minor. I do not. I said this during budget time. If we can pay rent of $250,000 a year, and we have for years for the Palace Theater, well, guess what? Other people need to start paying rent for our facilities. That's how it should work. So again, I'm not sure how we change any of these. As far as the Cheshire organization, they're supposed to be in that pool tomorrow. And here we are voting on it tonight. So I have a lot of concern, as well as a concern that there's other groups on this list that I have to vote no on a whole item that other groups deservingly, including Waterbury Patriots, Waterbury PAL, Sacred Heart Swim Team, who pays the fee, even though those kids are probably, in my knowledge of Waterbury, they're probably all Waterbury kids, or for the most part a swim team, they probably are. I certainly know the person who made the request for the pool is a Waterbury taxpayer. But they're paying their fee without any questions. They didn't apply for any waivers. But these other groups are somehow getting a free pass. And I just don't understand how we could do this. So I'm not sure tonight whether we need to make a motion to remove some items from this and break this up and vote separately. But as this item is written, I would have to vote no. Thank you, Mr. President.
Further discussion? Okay. Seeing none, then we will, I guess we'll roll call vote on that.
Vice President Harvey?
No.
All right. The clerk tells me that if this goes down, then, as Commissioner Van Stone stated, then some of the other things that, without question, will go down also. So we should probably then pull out what is going to go, a motion to amend the agenda item. Commissioner Tom Van Stone, a motion to approve, to remove some of the items.
And that is why I brought that out in my conversation, is I would like to make an amendment that we remove the items in question, which would be item number 1 on the cover sheet, which is Chester YMCA, the Waterbury Knights cheerleading competition, and the Lithuanian Sports Club.
Okay, that's item number 1. Was there more items there, or was there all
Those are 3
included in
items
one?
off of item 9.5. There are 3 items I just mentioned.
3 items included with that.
Cheshire YMCA is 1. Waterbury Knights cheerleading competition is 2. And the Lithuanian Sports Club is 3. Those are the 3 items I would like to remove from item 9.5.
Okay, we have a second.
I'll second, but I have a
Vice
question.
President Harvey.
Discussion.
Okay, we have discussion on that.
Discussion. This is a motion.
Discussion on the
Yes,
motion to amend.
okay.
Motion.
Motion to amend. Discussion
Okay.
on that.
All right, so this is a motion to amend the motion that I just read, correct?
That is right. To remove items.
Cool.
Did you say you had discussion, Vice President?
That was my question. That was the
okay.
discussion.
All right. Anything else? All right, then we will vote on the amendment. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion.
No. Okay, why don't we do roll call on that?
We have 2?
No, do a roll call.
Good, let's do roll call.
Okay, roll call.
Amendment.
And the amendment reads as, the amendment is to what?
The amendment is to pull off Cheshire Y, Waterbury Knights, and Lithuanian Sports.
Very good, okay.
Vice President Harvey?
Yes.
Commissioner McEntee?
Yes.
Commissioner Sweeney?
No.
Commissioner Jason Van Stone?
No.
Commissioner Tom Van Stone?
Yes.
President Stango?
No.
Amendment fails.
Motion fails.
Good.
Okay. So now we'll revert back to the original motion, agenda item motion then. Should we read it again? Vice President, you had that. Read it again so we're clear.
Item 9.5, ladies and gentlemen, with the approval of the Committee on School Facilities and Grounds, the Superintendent of School recommends approval of the use of facilities by outside organizations and/or waiver requests, subject to fees and insurance as required.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded. No, we already have the motion. Okay, now roll call vote.
Vice President Harvey?
Could we have discussion?
We have discussion? All right, we had discussion. We'll have more discussion? Okay. Commissioner Jason Van Stone?
Thank you, Mr. President, through you. I would say that all of the critiques from the senior Commissioner Van Stone are well taken, and I think they deserve action. And I understand that by trying to split up this item, we could kind of have 2 pots to vote yes or no against. I have some concerns at this late hour, whether they're Waterbury kids or not, for some of these items, to see them go down. I think we do need to figure out a better way to do this. I think that the argument that when we need a facility, we end up paying for it. And oftentimes when other people need a facility, we still end up paying for it. I think that is a valid argument. But tonight I don't think I'm prepared to shoot down those 3 requests without knowing what we would do for them to fix the problem. So while I think I understand the rationale and in many ways agree with it, I think that fighting that battle tonight wouldn't be prudent for some of the organizations that we might be causing a hardship. I guess that's what I have to say. Thank you, Mr. President.
Okay, Commissioner Tom Van Stone, then Commissioner Sweeney.
Thank you, Mr. President. I do think this is unfortunate because, with respect to Junior Van Stone, we had the same conversation when I brought this up during budget talks, and of course the conversation was, well, we'll revisit that and we'll try to make changes. Well, like we do many Thursday nights, we talk about making changes and then we do nothing. So obviously I'll probably be the only one, or maybe there'll be some others that will vote against this, and as I stated in my earlier comment, that's too bad for the other folks, but they will, I'm sure, get to use their facilities. Secondly, to this, another conversation we always have is late arrival of requests to this board, which basically puts a gun to our head because poor Johnny has to go swimming tomorrow. So, you know, this is, it's deja vu, whatever you want to call it. It's just, we talk about this all the time, that we're going to change how we do business, and we never do. We never change. So I'll wait another 6 months, and I'll just pull out my notes and I'll read the same thing I did tonight. Thank you, Mr. President.
Commissioner Sweeney.
One of my concerns with the amendment is that one of the groups is under the heading of groups not subject to fees or waivers due to time of use or previous waiver. In past years, we have had this issue, and my understanding is, and I will have to clarify it with Paul Godone again, but that there is state statute that states that if there was a previous use and a previous waiver, that we have to allow that again. So we've had this issue before with some groups that this board has questioned their use and whether it's appropriate, and we have lost that fight due to the fact that that group has had previous use or a previous waiver. So I'll clarify that again with Mr. Godone, but until I can clarify that, I'm not willing to pull that group out due to the fact that we could be facing some litigation if we did. So that's my concern.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Vice President Harvey.
Thank you. But I believe that it stands to reason, Commissioner Van Stone, and I'm not going to say senior, Tom Van Stone, that we cross this bridge maybe 6 months, 3 months down the road, and we never do anything about it. So I'm hoping that, I don't think the commissioner that's in charge of the policy committee is here, but I would hope that President Stengel, you would appoint or assign this task to look at this, because there was something roughly about a month ago that I questioned, and it was the use of students from outside of our district using our facilities. And I questioned that. So I think it begs this board looking at, we are responsible for these facilities. And, you know, cost millions and millions of dollars for the maintenance of these facilities. So I believe it's something that we should assign the policy committee to look at as soon as possible, so that hopefully 6 months down the road, Commissioner Tom Van Stone, we're not looking at this same thing. We have some policy that we're able to clean up. So I would hope that we would do that very, very soon. Thank you.
Commissioner Jason Van Stone.
Thank you, Mr. President, through you. As far as cleaning up the process, I would probably argue that we should have nothing to do with this whatsoever. This is a day-to-day operations of the schools. This is an administrative function. If we were to create some kind of policy that, you know, on events of such a size or such a dollar amount, it should come before the board. But I think to a large degree, and you'll note that a number of these have already been approved by the administration. Similar to field trips, I'm not too sure why these come to us every week. I think the Board of Education is supposed to be worried about big picture things, setting curriculum, having visions for the district, not deciding if the Waterbury Wizards can use the Carrington Gym on 8/24 from 5:30 to 7. That would also, to a degree, help all the people asking for these dates, because especially in the summertime, when we meet with one regular meeting a month often, if they're in the day after that meeting, they now have to sit for us for 30 days till we reconvene. But if this was a simple administrative task, there are people at central office every day who could work with the school, with the AD, with the principal, with whoever they need to work to decide, can we host this on this day and time? I'm not necessarily sure why we have to see it. But that's how I would clean up the process, by having the people we pay a lot of money do it instead of us once a month.
Vice President Harvey?
Thank you. It still begs to reason we are the policy-making authority here for the Board of Ed. Even if it's something that we're going to say, no, we don't want, we'll leave it with the school to be responsible, we still need to discuss it. So I still say that the policy committee needs to put this on the agenda and discuss it.
Commissioner Sweeney?
Mr. President, I believe that the proper committee to take this up is actually the committee that handles school facilities and uses. That is not under policy. Under policy, we give that charge to the school facilities committee. This is not a policy decision.
Okay.
I'm Vice President of that committee, so I'll take it.
Anything further? Then we will do the roll call.
Vice President Harvey?
Yes.
Commissioner McEntee?
Yes.
Commissioner Sweeney?
Yes.
Commissioner Jason Van Stone?
Yes.
Commissioner Tom Van Stone?
No.
President Stango?
Yes. Motion passes. Thank you. Next item on the agenda, item 11, Committee of the Whole, Vice President Harvey.
Thank you. Item 11.1. Ladies and gentlemen, with the approval of the Committee of the Whole, the Superintendent of School recommends approval of the revised 2015-2016 school year calendar as attached. Respectfully submitted and so moved.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next item on the agenda, 12, Committee on School Personnel, Vice President Harvey.
Thank you. Item 12.1. Ladies and gentlemen, with the approval of the Committee on School Personnel, the Superintendent of School recommends approval of the lateral transfer request of Kristen Gwizdowski, Supervising Vice Principal of Maloney Magnet School, to Supervising Vice Principal, Carrington School. Respectfully submitted, effective immediately. Respectfully submitted and so moved.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Down to item number 13 on the agenda, Committee on Policy. Who has that?
I got it. Mr. President, with the approval of the Committee on Policy, the Superintendent of Schools recommends approval of the revised high school graduation exit criteria policy, which is 6146, as attached, respectfully submitted, and so moved.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item 13.2, Commissioner Jason Van Stone.
Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion to remove item 13.2.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to remove item 13.2. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. That's removed for further discussion at another time. Item 14.
It'll appear
Yes.
at next workshop, Mr. President. Okay. I thought we could get it on for the next one.
Okay. All right. Okay, item number 14, superintendent's notification to the board. Entertain a motion.
Motion to receive and place on file, superintendent's notification to the board.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. That would be item number 14.1 to 14.4. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item number 15, unfinished business of the preceding meeting only. Moving on then to item number 16, other unfinished new and miscellaneous business. All right, then, seeing none, I will just say that I think that we need, because of the questions coming up about this school use, that we will examine it. We've gone many years seemingly with no issues, but if a commissioner or two commissioners or three commissioners would like to have more information on it and further discussion on it, then we will bring a committee together of the school facilities usage committee, and we'll get an educational lesson on it. We'll discuss it, and we'll debate it, we'll describe it, we'll be enlightened on the policy. A policy that's going on for so many years is in place, and we know that many of the people who use these facilities have used them year after year after year. Another thing that I know is that if a group has, like you say, blanketed out a usage from October to March every night, then if in that school, one of our own teams or whatever needs it, they step back. Our teams take precedence. But we'll talk about all this when we are enlightened on it. We'll have the Mr. Godone there, the superintendent, people in the second floor who handle the request. So we will make sure that we are enlightened on the whole process going forward. Okay, so that's my other new and miscellaneous business. Now I'll entertain a motion. Commissioner Sweeney?
Motion to convene an executive session for discussion concerning the appointment, employment, performance evaluation, health, or dismissal of a public officer or employee.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We are convened into executive session where we will adjourn from that point when we are completed with the executive session. Once again, I thank you all for coming. Next meeting is next Thursday night, workshop at Chase, I believe. Chase. Okay, thanks.